Hey, now, and don't lie about this, by the way. If you're addicted to something called gambling, you're addicted to shopping. Yeah, I know you are shocked. Addicted to shopping? Yeah, there are people who have a weakness when it comes to shopping. The moment they get some money and they see a supermarket, a grocery store, or a hypermarket, or a mall, they just think of buying. All right. And if you have a problem with loans, you have this highly what we call elevated appetite to loans. Anytime you have to get a loan is a thing to you. Sometimes you even feel like, really, what's going on with me? All right. And the last one, if you're addicted to what we call the money misuse, this is the video that you've been looking for. All right. So the only thing that you need to do is stick around. If you're not addicted, maybe let's say I will start with gambling. If you're not addicted to gambling, hang around. If you're addicted to shopping, just hang around. If until we reach to where you are addicted to, so that at least you can grasp the maximum from this video. And by the way, guess what? I usually upload a video each and every day. So if you don't want to miss of my good videos in the future, I usually do so. Do this. Down below there is a small button written subscribe. Hit that magical button and make sure that you like this video. And don't forget, if you're watching me for the first time, this is Good Joseph speaking. I talk all about money and investments. All right? How about we get to the business? Indeed. Let's get to the business now. Here we are. If you're addicted to these four things that I'm about to discuss about, let me start with gambling. All right? For those who do not know what is gambling, gambling is basically you taking your money out there and you're trying to sort of bet, betting or something of sort, and maybe you're trying to play. There is a very popular game that is going out there, which I won't even mention the names, but you know, guys, what I'm talking about. Let me tell you one secret. This is what you actually do it. All right? But before I tell you what to do, let me just tell you the reasons why this one I do not encourage it. I always give these examples and I'm going to repeat it again. All right? I always tell you success. You see, the word success is usually an intersection between two things. Okay? So this is hard work, and this is what we call luck. So when these two things intercede at this particular center region, that's where we can say you are successful. What does it mean? When you work hard and the luck hits you, that intersection is what we say you're successful. And guess what? Between the two things, you can only control one. This is the only thing that you can control. You can control hard work. You can control how hard you can work, how focused you can, and all those kind of things. You can't control luck. So for those people who bet, and they bet in the name of trying to get the luck so that they can become wealthy, what you're trying to do is to twist the luck. It's like trying to make things work for. It's like, how can I tell you? It's like you really trying to assume that you are lucky by virtue of you going and betting. And again, once you gamble, guess what you're doing? You're violating two principles of money. Number one, for you to be successful, number one, you must have what we call the patience, and then you must have something called, the patience here in the sense that, hey, it's all about time. Whenever it comes to making money and creating wealth, I always tell people it's never an event, it's usually a process. So you're violating the aspect of time. And number two, you are violating the aspect of what? The influence. You cannot be able to make money if you cannot be able to do this thing. Let me explain the second point. If you cannot be able to actually have something called attention, because the amount of money you make is equivalent to the number of people you influence, and also the period. All right, that's a fact. So the more people you influence, obviously the more money you make. For example, today if I ask you how many people does Jeff Bezos influence on earth, a lot of people. If you go to Mark Zuckerberg, all those kind of things. So the time and also the number of people that you influence, that is the direct proportional to how much you can be able to make out there. For example, if today you open a shop and you can only sell from people in your locality, and maybe your village is made up of 72 people, then maybe, let's say, because there is another shop there, maybe that 72 people who are potential buyers, you divide them into two. Maybe like each and every one has 25 people, compared to somebody who positions out in the similar business. You get what I'm saying? The number of people you influence and the period of time. So gambling is actually twisting the luck part of your life to assume that you're gonna make some cash. And guess what? In this particular deal, and I always tell people, each and every deal there is always a fool. And if you can't see any, you're the one. Now, how exactly do you get yourself off this specific problem of actually betting? Number one, avoid the friends that bets. Avoid who? Avoid friends who are what? Avoid friends who are betting. Number two, avoid friends who talk about football each and every time. If you bet using football and all those kind of things. Number three, what you're supposed to do is that change your circle. Change your circle. When I say change your circle, I simply mean like check people who you actually hang around with, and at the same time make sure that you actually do what? Change your mindset. Change your what? Change your mindset. Change your mindset. How you think about money, how you think about wealth, the procedure, the patience, and all those kind of things. Because whenever you have a skewed mindset whereby you believe that you have to do so in a very short period of time, then you fall under what we call. And by the way, have you ever realized one thing? Most of these people who surely bet that the people who will tell you, hey, there was a certain app we were doing, we were investing, we were told we did, and then the next minute we were scammed. It's very true, because you have what? Greed. And again, that is the point number 5. Point number 5 is do what? Avoid greed. Avoid greed, because it is the greed that is controlling you and telling you that, hey, guess what? If I can actually take this amount of money and bet within whatever period of time, I can get some couple of billions. So those are the things that you're supposed to avoid. Number 1 that you're supposed to avoid is avoid friends. Okay, I have ever gambled myself. I was in betting back then when I was in campus, and I realized the reason why I was gambling is because of my friends. Every time I wake up in the morning, I find them somewhere, they just mill around a certain guy who is giving instructions on what we should bet about today, who is likely to win, and all those kind of things. Then I realized I'm hanging around with people who are influenced by football, who are influenced by gambling, and all those kind of things. So if you can shake them off and try to work with people who actually talk about the stable form of in terms of what do we call investments, like real things and tangible things that requires your contribution, your patience, your sacrifice, and consistency. That is best thing that you can actually do, so that at least you can be able to grow yourself. Let's go to the next point. All right, so now we are done with gambling. Let's go to the next point. If you are addicted to something called shopping, shopping is a real problem for actually most of the people. And you might think I'm talking about ladies. No, we also have a lot of men who are actually addicted to shopping. And when I say shopping, does not necessarily you showing up with handbags and whatever. You see, that's kind of picture that comes in your head. Shopping can also means that you get out there and buy a thing that probably you don't really need it. You end up buying it out there just because you have the money. So shopping, this is actually a real problem. These are people who, when they get paid, they don't even, the first thing they show up is to a mall, and they grab a thing. They just, you see, they do not even have a written budget. The moment you pay them, they show up to a mall, they just go grab things randomly. I repeat, have you ever been in a situation whereby you get paid, you have the money, and then you just go to a mall? You just show up the place. You do not have something that you want to buy. But you know one thing, the moment you show up there, you might get something that you can be able to buy. And if you work on that principles, let me just go there, I might get something that I can be able to buy. That is the worst thing that you can ever do in your life, okay? So the point is this. No, if you want to do something about this shopping thing, obviously, is to have a budget, is to have a plan, is to have a committed cash. For example, if you show up to a shopping and you do not have, an idle money, then you cannot be able to do exactly that. So the point is this, again, the problem that happens to you having the shopping, again, is friends, And let me tell you one secret, guys. Most of these things that I'm going to share with you, friends plays a very vital role. That's why you always hear people talk about, hey, show me your friends, I will define who you are. It is because exactly we actually bear the character of the people who surround us, especially the 5 people who are closest to us. So this is kind of the character that you usually bear or actually have in your life. So whenever you do shopping, probably you hang around with the people who talk about shopping, we talk about people who are selfish. And by the way, allow me to tell you this, may sound harsh, but it's the reality. Those people who love shopping and all those kind of things is because they're selfish. Selfish in the and when I say selfish, everyone, obviously we all love ourselves. I'm also selfish to myself in one way or the other, okay? Because you cannot violate my time. But there is kind of a selfish that you can have in your life that can actually be detrimental even to your own self. For example, if you are out there and you just love to appear good and looking happy and all those kind of things, you just buy anything and everything that you get on your way just because you have the money, that actually deters you from actually having what we call the financial freedom, all right? So the point is this, if you have a problem with shopping, first of all, change the circle of the friends that you have. Number 2, have what we call the budget, and a working budget, something that you follow, an instruction. You know very well, whenever money shows up, hey, I'm showing up to a mall, I'm showing up to a supermarket, I'm showing up to a grocery store, because you can justify the reason why I'm running out of this, I'm running out of this, and I'm running out of the other. You can justify the action of actually going and buying shopping out there, all right? Number 2, work on your emotional part of your life. For example, you may find some ladies, as this one, I'm a little bit inclined towards our beautiful women here, because you find them like, maybe let's say they have children or kids, and we know definitely they do love their kids, okay? Now, you find that these guys tend to kind of say, hey, guess what? I just love my kid. I just want to buy this thing. So come on, you're not supposed to actually be controlled by the emotional part of you. Just elevate the logical part of your life so that at least by any decision that you're making, you can actually justify it out there. All right. So what did we say? Change friends, work on the emotional part of you, and also work on what we call having a budget that is working and you follow at all the time. We go to the next one. The next one is about loans. Now, this one may affect each and everyone who is out there, provided if you are a human being and you do not have what we call the financial understanding. Remember one thing, there are some of the loans that are considered good and there are some of the loans that are not considered good. But the question is this: what is the purpose of why you're taking a loan? Have you ever seen kind of an individual, even if you pay them at the end of the month, they still have to take a loan? Why? Because they have already got themselves into what we call the murky waters. They're already in a ditch. So they think by virtue of them getting out of the ditch is by digging deeper. That is not the point. Guess one thing, there are people who you find like, hey, you live a life that is above how much you make. You see, we usually say you live say, well, what do we call it? You live above average life, above average. When I say average, I mean with your reference. Not everyone's average. You live above your average. For example, you make 50K a month. There you are. You're living a 60K a month. What does it mean? What do you think the difference is? 10K. Where do you think you'll get this 10K? Because you're operating on what we call the negative cash flow. Negative cash flow. Okay. Now, what exactly do? You go ahead and borrow this 10K to feed your life. And the things that are making you borrow this 10K are not even developmental. They're not developmental. They are what? They are sustainabilities. They are sustainabilities. Meaning they are things that actually do not really make you develop or something. The other term, we usually call them the consumables, okay? The consumables. They are just consumables. In this case, regard, what happens is that you're going to get yourself into lots of problems. Why? Because, hey, this money, definitely next time you'll be able to make the 50K same. You're still going to live in a life of 60,000. Okay, then also it means next month you won't even manage to pay the 10K that you had borrowed last month. So, and you still cannot even sustain yourself. You're going to borrow another 10, another 10, another 10. By the time you realize, you have accumulated what we call the unhealthy debt. So one thing that you're supposed to understand when it comes to loan, ask yourself, am I taking a loan which is developmental, or am I taking a loan which is consumable? All right. And I remember there was a time where I was in a seminar and I talked about people getting a loan to pay school fees, and I told them that's a consumable. They said, hey, no, it's not good. Just, no, it's true. Just because you don't love it, just because you can't agree with it, doesn't make it anything less than the truth. It is the truth. Yeah, it is the truth. So the point is this: if you're addicted to taking loans, obviously look at the core problem, the core genesis of this problem. Why? Mismanagement. Okay, mismanagement. And again, I said there are two types of loans. If you can be able to manage yourself and taking a loan for development, that's okay. But if you're just taking a loan to fund the consumables, then check about your mismanagement things or the management aspect of your life. That's where the genesis of that problem is. You cannot be able to, what we call, you cannot be able to go ahead and be able to, sort of plan yourself. You mismanage your money. You have a highly, consumer mindset. When you have a highly consumer mindset, then you're gonna go out there and borrow to sustain your life, and that is the worst thing that you can ever do in this life. Okay, now the thing is about loan is that at all the time, make sure that at least you stick to that what you can afford to live. And I always tell people there's something called living by your means or living below your means. Okay, living below your means, it means that if you make 50, live below that. That is, maybe you can live by 30 or 35 or 40, and the rest of the money you can actually channel it towards an investment. Okay, so the loans, again, be very careful. This one may not be contributed to friends, but again, friends can actually deter you from managing properly your wealth or your money or your income. Therefore, you can get yourself into getting loans. Okay, the last one, which is money misuse. Money misuse, definitely this one we can call it, it's like the way we usually call a drug misuse or something of sort. So money misuse, it means that misdirecting that money or diverting the use of the money than the intended purpose. It's as simple as that. I think I've used the simplest language to define what is a money misuse, okay, or money mismanagement. So now what happens when you misuse money, or what contributes to the misuse of money? It is simply because you do not have the guiding principle. It's simple. You do not have the guiding principles. And I loved giving these examples. Can you imagine this? If you're not a Kenyan, I just give you a call and I invite you in our country, and I tell you, I would like you to drive me and take me to somebody like, or somewhere like Kirinyaga. What? Kirinyaga? Yeah, just take me to Kirinyaga. First of all, Okay, fine. The fuel, the car has the fuel and everything, but you're gonna ask me, what the heck is Kirinyaga? What route should I follow, and all those kind of things. You're gonna get confused. And I assume there are no Google Map and something of sort. Assume I'm calling you at 1970s. What do you think we will do? It's gonna be a very hectic for you. Okay, fine. You know very well you wanna go to Kirinyaga. That is the destination. That is the fate of your life. You know very well I want to be wealthy. I want to have achieve the financial freedom, but you do not have any plan in between where you are and where you want to go. It's like you being in Nairobi and you want to go to Kirinyaga and you have never known the route and you know nothing. How can you even get the destination? You just be living by saying, I just want to go to Kirinyaga. You're just complaining to people, but you do not have the route. The same case applies. So the moment you operate without any rule, without any guiding principles, and that's why even you go to any country, there is a rules and regulation. The moment you show up to their borders, you have to adhere to their rules and regulation. They have to stamp your visa, your passport, whatever the thing is. So the point is this: you must adhere to the rules and regulations. So what guides you? And don't tell me the misuse guides you. No, what guides you? Like, for example, you make 50 Gs at the end of the month. Now, what guides you? What makes you to use or misuse that specific amount of money? Why do you actually channel that money towards that specific place? So if you can have yourself a guiding principle, and a guiding principle here, I simply mean budget. You're right. That's what I mean. A guiding principle here, it's simply a budget that is actually working for you and can actually help you to go ahead and plan and manage your cash. It's as simple as that. I really wish I can have the way of saying it simply, but it's simply that. Do not go out there just because you have the money and take it out and use it. Just because you have it. Don't justify yourself, but just because I have, or why not? Those are ignoratic terms that you can never use whenever it comes to finances. Don't buy something and say, why not? Never say that. Say, hey, I bought it because, yes, 1, 2, 3, this is going to help me, this and this and that. Just don't say, why not? So avoid the misuse. And again, this one can be contributed to friends and something of sort, but it's good when you have what you call the financial skills. When you have the financial skills, then it can help you to managing this amount of money. Guess what, guys? That marks the end of my video, but don't forget, hit that like button and also subscribe to this channel. And by the way, you can pick my number from the description of this specific video and we talk about business. So for now, it's a goodbye. See you in the next one.